Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vajradhana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vajradhana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vajradhana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astatara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anatakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 18, The Battle Between Lord Bor and Hiranyaksha. Text 10. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Satyam Vayam Bo Vanagochara Mriga Yushmad Vidan Mrigaye Grama Singhan Na Mrityu Pashai Pratimuktasya Vira Vikatanam Tava Granantya Bhadra Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Satyam Vayambo Vanagochara Mriga Yushmad Vedan Mrigaye Grama Singhan Namrityu Pashai Pratimuktasya Vira Vikatanam Tava Grinantya Bhadra Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Satyam Vayambo Vanagochara Mriga Yusmad Vidan Mrigaye Grama Singhan Namrityu Pashai Pratimuktasya Vira Vikatanam Tava Grinantya Bhadra Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Satyam Vayambo Vanagochara Mriga Yusmad Vidan Mrigaye Grama Singhan Namrityu Pashai Pratimuktasya Vira Vikatanam Tava Grinantya Bhadra Vaishnavis? Okay. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Satyam, indeed, Vayam, we, Bo, O, Vanagochara, dwelling in the forest, Mrigaha, creatures, Yusmad Vidan, like you. Can I get some water, please? Okay. Mrigaye, I am searching to kill. Gramasingham, dogs. Na, not. Mrityu Pashahai, by the bonds of death. Pradimuktasya, of one who is bound. Viraha, the heroes. Vikatanam, loose talk. Tava, your. Grananti, take notice of. Abhadra, O mischievous one. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The personality of Godhead said, indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Purport. Demons and atheistic persons can go on insulting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they forget that they are subjected to the laws of birth and death. They think that simply by decrying the existence of the Supreme Lord or defying His stringent laws of nature, one can be freed from the clutches of birth and death. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of God, one can go back home, back to Godhead. But demons and atheistic persons do not try to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they remain in the entanglement of birth and death. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananchana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, sometimes in sporting events, like boxing or wrestling or football, the participants who are going to be opposing each other in the match engage in what they call trash talk, some loose talk where they're kind of putting each other down. So in anticipation of a battle with Lord Boar, Hiranyaksha is engaging in some loose talk, some trash talk. And Varaha is giving it right back to him, using the same words that he used, like these words, Vanagochara Mriga. Those were originally, those same words were used in text 2 by Hiranyaksha. He says, Vanagochara Mriga, which Srila Prabhupada translates, "Oh, you amphibious beast." In other words, an amphibian goes in and out of the water. So he's calling him, "Oh, you amphibious beast." And Varaha chose to use the same words, but in another way. Yes, I am a beast, but I'm going to hunt you down like a dog, and I'll deal with you. So he's kind of throwing it right back at him. And this is the nature of the demoniac or the atheistic person, is that avajananti mamudha manushantana mashrita. Krishna says, when I appear in my incarnations, they mock me and try to deride me. But it's just loose talk. Like when Krishna was about to engage in a fight with King Jarasandha, who again represented the demoniac mentality. The king, Jarasandha, was engaging in all kinds of loose talk like this kind of Vedic trash talk. And Krishna told him, well, look, those who are really heroes, who are really viras, they don't talk so much. They just act. And I can understand by your talking that you're very close to death. So deeds are a better demonstration of actual strength than just talk. But these two types of living entities, of course there's the Supreme Lord who is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matas sarvam pravartate, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the source of everything and everyone, including the devotees and the demons, the suras, the demigods, and the asuras. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Tvabhuta eva sargasam daivasura eva cha Vishnu bhakta bhaved daiva asuras tad viparyaya. That he creates two kinds of beings in this world, the daiva, the devotee, and the asura. And the devotees, they become Vishnu bhaktas, and the asuras become just the opposite. Of course, and this is by their exercise of free will. It's by the exercise of one's free will that one becomes a devotee or a Vishnu bhakta or an asura, a demoniac person. And this is Krishna's arrangement. It's an interesting arrangement that Krishna makes, because everyone gets the result of their free will. Krishna doesn't force anyone to engage in his service. It's up to the individual soul. The natural position of the soul is to be part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manasastan indriyani, prakritishtani karshati. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, by nature, everyone is a devotee of Krishna, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But by misuse of free will, one puts oneself in a different position. Jivarasrupahoy Krishnera Nityadas. The natural constitutional position of the soul, its swarupa, is to be the eternal servant of Krishna. Even Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they illustrate this. They are actually Jai and Vijay. They have their eternal positions as Krishna's servants in one of the Vaikuntha planets. You know, the spiritual world is divided into basically three parts. There's the Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Lord, and in it there are the Vaikuntha planets where souls worship Lord Narayan as the supreme ruler, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. And their worship of Lord Narayan is in the mood of awe and reverence. They fully understand this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they're very cautious and careful not to commit any offense or to behave in any way that is too familiar. You know, like with a great personality, sometimes you're instructed when you go to meet them, don't, you know, behave in a very familiar way. Be, you know, like when somebody goes to meet the Pope or the Queen or King of England, you know, they're instructed, yes, when you enter, you bow and you curtsy, or you do this or do that. You don't say, hi, Queenie, or hey, King, how you doing? You know, you're given instruction how to do that. It's like our deity worship, Srila Prabhupada said, should be in the mood of awe and reverence. So, then there is the other part of the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotees are in a different mood than the devotees in the Vaikuntha planets, where the relationship of Krishna, with Krishna is one of awe and reverence, and it doesn't extend to the higher rasas. So in Goloka Vrindavan, devotees are in a mood of affection, loving affection with Krishna, and sometimes they don't understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although sometimes he does wonderful things that demonstrate that. They just see Krishna as their most beloved child, their most beloved friend, and they behave in a familiar way with the Supreme Lord, not even understanding that that's what he is. And that's a very high position to take, where one can behave with Krishna like a beloved friend, a beloved child or parent, or beloved consort. So Jai and Vijay were in the Vaikuntha planets. So they're a special case. They're not like ordinary conditioned souls. Because of an arrangement that Krishna made with the four Kumaras coming to the Vaikuntha planets and desiring to enter one of the Vaikuntha planets to have an audience with Lord Narayan, they were obstructed, and Krishna, Lord Narayan, out of his mercy, made some arrangement that Jai and Vijay, his servants, who had somehow triggered a situation with the four Kumaras by apparently preventing them from entering, trying to prevent them from entering the Vaikuntha planet, they had to accept birth 3 times in the material world as demons. So they're not like in the situation of the ordinary conditioned soul, but they're like actors in a play that is carried out for our benefit. We're meant to get a lesson from it. So although the actor may not be an ordinary conditioned soul in a play, it behaves like that. And for our instruction, and we're meant to take the lesson that is conveyed by the play. So in this incident in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're meant to take a lesson that we shouldn't oppose the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And really, that's why we're in the material world at all, because of our misuse of free will. We're not totally surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Bahirmukahana Bhogavanchakare Nikatashtamayatare Japatiyatare. Because we have misused our free will to try to enjoy independently from Krishna, we are in the grip of the material energy. And Lord Bora is telling Hiranyaksha, the basic lesson for any soul that finds himself, herself in the material world trying to enjoy independently from Krishna. This is actually the demoniac mentality. And Lord Varaha is warning Hiranyaksha, you may talk like that, you may talk big, but you're entangled in the cycle of birth and death. And I am Satchidananda Vigraha. I'm eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. You could be like that, but because of your attitude, you're caught up in the cycle of death. Sometimes people talk about the elephant in the room. That means the big, ugly thing that is there that nobody wants to talk about and pretends just isn't there. And this is kind of mentioned in different places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like in the conversation between Jud Bharat and King Rahugana. Jud Bharat is describing to the king the position of the conditioned soul. It's like being lost in a forest and has fallen into a cave. And in the back of the cave, there's this big elephant. And an elephant can disable you or kill or injure a person very easily, if you have a mad elephant. So that big elephant is there, although we may not want to talk about it or recognize it. Death is waiting in the cave. And this is also described in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam in the chapters about the material world as the forest of material enjoyment. A person will sometimes go into the forest to try to gather some valuable substances like honey or rare kinds of wood or flowers or something that they can sell and make a profit on. But when they go into the forest, as we go into the material world looking for some enjoyment that we can profit by, we encounter different difficulties, and the same example is given that one winds up falling into a cave, a dark cave, and in the back of the cave there's this big elephant, like we see the elephant that King Kamsa wanted to use to kill Krishna and Balaram, Kuvaliyapida. These elephants, they can be very dangerous. So this is something that everyone who is trying to enjoy themselves apart from Krishna has to face, that Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, have to confront the reality that if we want to enjoy separately from Krishna, we're going to have to deal with birth, death, old age, and disease in this material world. And I know that's a fact. I mean, spent 40 years telling that to people, but we have to confront it ourselves as we find out inevitably. So we feel uncomfortable in this situation because at some deep level we understand that this is not natural to be subjected to these different miseries. We feel, yes, I want to have an unending existence. But if we want that, there's a price to pay for it. And it means giving up this demoniac mentality, which is asatyama pratishtam te jagat ahur anishwaram, that the atheist, the demon, has the mentality that everything is here for my enjoyment. There's no controller, there's no owner of the universe. It's just there for us to use as we please. And even if we believe in God, we simply pray to God, help me enjoy my senses until death, or give me a place where I can enjoy myself in the afterlife, some kind of material heaven where I get everything I want. But even those material heavenly planets are places where birth and death are also present. From the highest planet to the lowest in the material world, those things are there. So Krishna tries to give us the opportunity to use our free will properly, not as Hiranyaksha is using his free will to deride and to try to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Last week, Maharaj was making that point, that this is the essential message of this whole pastime, is that it's foolish to think that we can compete with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what to speak of destroy him, as Hiranyaksha in this pastime is trying to do. He says, we'll kill you, but as far as death is concerned, Krishna and his different incarnations like Varaha are completely beyond that. The only person who is going to have to deal with death is the person who has tried to be a competitor with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who is actually envious of the Supreme Lord. They're the ones who are going to have to confront death. Hiranyaksha has been insulting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's used certain words to do that. Oh, you amphibious beast. But Krishna is throwing it right back at him. Yeah, I'm a beast, but I'm going to hunt you down like a dog and destroy you, kill you. Of course, even for the soul, the conditioned soul who is behaving in that way, there's no death either. Ultimately, everyone is a spirit soul, eternal, but if they adopt this mentality of independent enjoyer and try to use the material body that Krishna gives them in the material world to enjoy separately from Krishna, then because they're falsely identifying with that body, they have to undergo the experience of death and take another form and another and another. So those are some thoughts on today's verse and purport. Any question or comment? Drutakarma Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. You mentioned earlier in the class that Jai and Vijay were not ordinary conditioned souls, and you said they were like actors. So my question is, were they acting under the influence of Mahamaya, Yogamaya, or some combination of the two?
Well, because they're involved in direct pastimes with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, my thought would be, since Krishna's Leela, his Nitya Leela, are transcendental, Janma Karma Chamedyavyam, and they're participants in this Leela, that Yogamaya is involved because they were in the spiritual world, and Krishna made this arrangement, he wanted to satisfy everyone, the Kumaras, Jai and Vijay. So he made some arrangement, and gave them the choice: do you want to spend 7 lives as a devotee or 3 lives as a demon, and then you come back, as quickly as possible? They made the choice, 3 lives as demons. So, although I can't point directly to, at this moment, directly to a statement, in Srila Prabhupada's purports that it was by Yogamaya, it would seem that that's the case.
So, but is there a bit of Mahamaya in there as well? Because an actor, when he does something, he's pretending. So like when Hiranyaksha here, for instance, is saying all these insulting things to Varaha, is he pretending to misuse his free will? Or is he really misusing his free will?
I don't know the answer to that question. Does anybody?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that Jai and Vijay, thank you, that Jai and Vijay have been cursed by the 4 Kumaras, cursed to be demons. So they were demons, and they should be taken just as they are. At least they are acting in the demoniac mentality. And that's exactly what's going on. So, why did the 4 Kumaras condemn them, or why did they curse them? Because they were being prohibited from going to the 7th gate of the spiritual world and looking, or really meditating on the Supreme Lord's form, his face, everything. So they were a little upset, a little disturbed by this, because they were, in a sense, devotees. So therefore, when they cursed Jai and Vijay, who happened to have been spiritual world residents, nonetheless, it was a condemnation. They should be demons, because it was being said they can't be the real gatekeepers, because gatekeepers of God would not act the way they are, stopping us from seeing him. So they said, let them be demons. So it would appear as that they were acting under the curse of the 4 Kumaras, and call it what you may, but it's demoniac. That's all you can say at this point. I don't think there's any pretense or anything. They are just demons for the time being, and it will last as long as it has to, and then that will be finished.
Thank you.
One time, one life member of Indian devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how is it that in the Battle of Kurukshetra, when everything is going on, Arjuna, after being with Krishna and heard the Bhagavad Gita, how is it that he's lamenting? He's supposed to be transcendental. And Prabhupada mentions, he says, it's natural for a father to have affection. So taking that example is that you're not pretending, you're actually acting in your role as a Kshatriya, warrior. If you're fighting a war, it's not like, oh, we're just like faking it. You actually have anger, you actually displayed all those emotions that a human being has. So that's my understanding. But as an example from that question to Srila Prabhupada, I mentioned that Arjuna is natural for a father to have affection. So is real in that sense. And of course, as you mentioned before, Yoga Maya, he acts in such a way that induces those devotees to take those roles like that.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.